Tonight, a man is arrested by police in the search for an Edinburgh mum who disappeared. Casha Smith hasn't been seen for almost a year. It's just days since detectives carried out fresh searches for clues and appealed for information.
Also making the headlines, the end of the line for the mail train.
Can you take postal special? Can take postal special.
Royal Mail is scrapping its historic service, favouring lorries and vans on our roads. But what does it mean for environmental targets?
Celebrating Glasgow's newest bridge, a new link over the Clyde opens this weekend between Govan and Partick.
I'm Emma Cameron in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Almost a year after she disappeared, a man has been arrested in connection with the death of Edinburgh mum Casha Smith. Police say they believe she is dead, although her body hasn't yet been found.
A 39-year-old man was taken into custody early this morning. It comes after new searches this week in the area around Casha's home in Calder Grove. Well, our senior reporter Gordon Cree has the latest. Gordon.
Emma, there are cards and photos on the railings here, an ongoing reminder of Casha Smith, a woman who families say wouldn't have missed important events like birthdays and Christmas. Since her disappearance was reported to police back in January, it's become clear she hadn't been seen safe and well for some weeks prior to that. Detectives have said for a while that they believe she may have come to harm, but stopped short of saying that was the most likely outcome. Well, today, that position has changed.
The last time Casha Smith was known to be safe and well was the 10th of October last year in a FaceTime call with a friend. Early this morning, a 39-year-old man was arrested in connection with her death. It's the first time police have confirmed publicly they believe Casha is dead, but her body is yet to be found. Although officers were carrying out more searches this week in undergrowth near her home in Calder Grove, I understand the arrest isn't directly linked to that operation. The officer in charge of the investigation said, "Our thoughts are very much with Casha's family at this extremely difficult time, and they continue to be supported by specialist officers. They are understandably devastated, and it is vital we get answers for them." In March, Casha's daughter made an appeal for information.
I would do anything for her to walk through the door and just to give her a big hug. It feels like I'm living the worst dream that we could ever possibly imagine, and I can't express how much we want my mum to just come home.
Before she went missing, Casha had been living in a flat here with a relatively new partner. Detectives are again urging anyone who has information about her disappearance, however small or insignificant they think it is, to get in touch urgently.
And Gordon, what happens next?
Well, when anyone is arrested, the police have up to 24 hours to either charge them or release them. So the clock is clearly ticking on that. At the same time, we're told extensive inquiries continue in an attempt to find Casha. People around here have been reluctant over the months to talk to us about this case. "I just don't want to get involved," is something I've heard a lot. If that is the same for the police, they may well be hoping that today's developments will help change that. Emma.
OK, Gordon, many thanks for that.
After nearly 200 years, the Royal Mail has decided it's the end of the line for their freight trains. In just a few weeks, the rail service will depart for the final time as the company prepares to increase its road deliveries instead.
But aside from the history, what does it mean for the rail industry and our climate goals? Laura Piper has this report.
For decades, this is how our letters were carried, bundled up with string on a nighttime express.
8:30 p.m. Weekdays and Sundays. The Down Postal Special leaves Euston for Glasgow, Edinburgh and Aberdeen.
After 200 years, the last remaining Royal Mail trains will soon make their final journey. But those in the industry say freight still has a future.
It used to be a passenger train and it didn't comply with modern day regulations, and so we thought we'd just take the seats and tables out and replace people with parcels.
Phil is a former train driver. 2 years ago, he decided to buy his own train and launch an eco-friendly rail service out of Scotland.
It's faster, we believe it's cheaper, and it's most definitely greener than all the alternatives out there.
I think there's got to be a big future for it. You know, it's not a case of will there be, I think there's got to be.
For Royal Mail, that future will now rely more on road, a decision that's rocked the unions.
Absolutely bonkers as far as RMT is concerned. We view this decision as industrial waste vandalism of the highest order. And the green agenda is out the window.
In a bid to get more lorries off the road and cut emissions, the Scottish Government has set rail freight growth targets. But according to the Office for Rail and Road, the amount of freight moved by train has dropped by nearly 20%, from 220 million net tonne kilometres in 2020 to 178 million this year.
You need to try and get as many commercial operators to use rail as much as possible. That's why we in the Scottish Government have a rail freight strategy. We've got and we have been meeting our targets.
There are currently 248 commercial freight trains in operation in Scotland every week. That's an average of around 40 trains per day. Germany has more than 2,500 per day. Switzerland, 1,000. Sweden, more than 600. And 100 each in Portugal, Denmark and in Norway. That's still double the amount that Scotland can produce.
Rail freight is crucial if the UK is to meet its net zero goals. Any move from rail to road puts these at risk. Royal Mail have refused all requests for interviews with STV News. In a public statement, they say they plan to use other commercial rail services and increase road deliveries, which could mean our climate targets veer even more off track. Laura Piper, STV News.
The leader of Glasgow City Council says she would encourage people living in the city to join in a peaceful celebration and take a stand against what she's described as the far right ahead of planned protests tomorrow.
Susan Aitken says she's hopeful there won't be any trouble at the demonstrations, which could see anti- and pro-immigration groups meet in the city centre. Our reporter Ollie Dickinson is in George Square tonight.
Well, it's a normal Friday night here in George Square in Glasgow, but behind the scenes a significant amount of planning underway from Police Scotland ahead of tomorrow's events. One group who will attend has described their rally as a pro-UK event, titled Enough is Enough. Organisers claim it's neither far-right nor racist, although it is backed by Tommy Robinson. Meanwhile, hundreds of members of the Stand Up to Racism Scotland group are expected to be here, as they say, to unite against racism and fascism. Earlier this week, Police Scotland said that whilst they will respect people's rights to peacefully protest and demonstrate, that violence and disorder are not legitimate protest, and anyone who engages in disorder will be dealt with swiftly and robustly. Now, my understanding is there's no expectation of the kind of scenes that we've seen up and down the UK over the last number of weeks and months. Nothing like that has happened in Scotland so far, and police don't expect similar scenes in Scotland. Indeed, the last time there were any rumours of this sort of demonstration in Glasgow, it turned into nothing more than a shouting match between a small number of either side, individuals effectively shouting at each other and waving placards. Now, there is an expectation of crowds tomorrow. 9 trade unions, politicians, cultural figures and leading campaigners will join the pro-immigration rally. Little is known about who will speak at the anti-immigration event.
Ollie Dickinson there. Now, the family of Jenny Hastings, the wife of former Scotland rugby international Scott Hastings, have confirmed she's missing after a major emergency service operation at Wardie Bay in Edinburgh on Tuesday.
They say they're absolutely heartbroken as they confirm the 60-year-old is being treated as a high-risk missing person after extensive searches failed to find her in the Firth of Forth. Our reporter Lewis Mickey is in Granton.
Emergency services scrambled here to Wardie Bay in the Granton area of Edinburgh shortly before 3 p.m. on Tuesday afternoon. That was after they received reports of a woman in distress in the water here. That prompted a large-scale search operation that involved multiple lifeboats and a helicopter here and across the water in the Firth of Forth. That went on until shortly after 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening, when the search was stood down as the darkness came in. A smaller operation continued the following morning, and it was last night that we heard that Jenny Hastings, the wife of former Scotland rugby international Scott Hastings, was in fact the woman involved in this incident. And any recovery is yet to be made at this stage, but floral tributes have begun to be left here at this popular wild swimming spot. A statement from the family attributed to Scott, Corey, Daniel, Kerry-Ann and Ian said they were absolutely heartbroken and mentioned Jenny had struggled with her mental health for a number of years. And that's a fact that Jenny has been very open about publicly over the years. She's been a keen fundraiser and campaigner for mental health charities. That includes Change Mental Health, who she was an ambassador for, and her and Scott would often campaign for their 1 in 100 walking and running challenge. The charity today told us it's deeply saddened by the news. The statement from the Hastings family confirmed the incident is being treated as a high-risk missing persons case by police, and it added, "We miss our Jenny. She leaves a gaping hole in all our hearts, and hope that she is returned to us safely so that we can celebrate her remarkable life." Police Scotland today told us that inquiries are ongoing, but at the moment they can add no more. Lewis Mickey, STV News, Granton.
To other stories now, and 3 men have been jailed for more than 14 years for their part in an organised crime ring aimed at trafficking cocaine and cannabis across Ayrshire. Alan Stewart, Leslie Montgomery and Matthew Cullimore all pled guilty to being involved in serious organised crime after authorities broke into the secret EncroChat messaging app.
Tributes are being paid to a Scottish woman killed in an avalanche while skiing in Argentina. Andrea Marshall, who was 27 and from Dunoon, is believed to have been working as a ski instructor in the city of Bariloche when the incident happened on Wednesday evening. A statement from Dunoon Grammar School has said she was a very outgoing girl with a lovely nature. The Govan Partick Bridge has been formally opened. The multi-million-pound project connects the south and northwest of the city and will be key to attracting investment in the local areas. It'll open to pedestrians and cyclists tomorrow morning, with numerous celebrations planned around the event over the weekend. Vanessa Taff was there.
The first to cross the Clyde on the Govan Partick Bridge, with locals keen to get an up-close look at what all the fuss is about.
I was nervous and excited.
How did it feel to be the first person to cross the bridge?
Good. Cool. It's like a really cool experience, and if you're going on a bike you might want to be a bit prepared because it's hard to get up and down.
I've never done something like this before, so it was fun being the first one to walk across the bridge because this will be here for years upon years upon years.
If you're in the university you can go into your family, or maybe if you're in the Transport Museum you get really hurt, you can go to the hospital.
The bridge will reconnect people between Partick and Govan, as well as opening up the river for water traffic. These are the original winches from the Govan ferry. They've been restored locally to their former glory and are here as a monument to the history of the local area. An exciting moment for those with family connections to that history.
My father was born in Hannurobi, I think it was 1920. We used to get the ferry over, bring my grandson here, and the wee ferry that used to take you over to. But this is absolutely fantastic for, getting back and forward. It's brilliant, it's great. And I love the design of it because it goes great with the tall ship. And for, let's say, people in Govan, if they could get a job in Partick, it's a great connection. It's like you've got Morrison's, got a lot of good shops over Partick. So, a lot of people in Govan can actually, there you go, that's your way to a job, isn't it? Just walking across that bridge.
For others, a chance to take in the latest local landmark.
Well, it's a lovely modern build, isn't it? Your construction, so yeah, it's grand. It's grand. We've come along at different points of time to see the progress. Recently, we went over to the Partick side to see how it was progressing from that side. So we thought, well, we'll take the chance that we can get close enough to see the official opening.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's a wonderful thing to join these two communities. I think the design of it's very, very good indeed. And I'm just disappointed that there's not a lot more people here today to actually see the official opening ceremony.
£29.5 million worth of funding for the crossing was delivered as part of the Glasgow City deal.
For a long time now it's been a bit disconnected and a bit isolated, and this bridge will change all that. It will completely change it. I think it's going to be not just a fresh chapter for Govan, although that's incredibly important, but actually a fresh chapter for this whole stretch of the river and for the river corridor itself.
We've seen significant investment in Govan, we've seen significant investment just on the other side of the bridge at the Riverside Museum. So I think that continued investment can help to go and act as a catalyst to drive forward more investment, which is only good for the area, only good for business, only good for jobs.
The crossing will be open to everyone tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Vanessa Taff, STV News on the Govan Partick Bridge.
Now Jamie's here with All Tonight Sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the Casha Smith Autumn Sale.
Celtic women have been urged to go all in to progress to round 2 of the Champions League qualifiers ahead of their match against FC Gintra. Celtic are on a high after their 3-1 extra-time win over Coups on Wednesday, and victory over the hosts in Lithuania tomorrow would see them through to the final qualification round before the Champions League group stage.
I just think the final message will be like, go all in, because I think if we look at the opposition we have, like, with all respect, I'm more confident in my players than the opposition. So I'm very confident and I'm very looking forward to the challenge tomorrow.
Cricket in Scotland have been defeated by 70 runs by Australia in the second T20 International at the Grange. After a record-breaking batting performance on Wednesday, Travis Head was bowled out for a duck by Brad Curry. But Josh Ingles put on a masterclass as he made a century with Scotland set a target of 197. George Munsey made some early sixes, but he got out for just 19. Brandon McMullen top scored with 59, but Scotland fell well short as Australia take a 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. To rugby, and Corinne Grant believes Scotland can hit the ground running when they get their season underway against Wales tonight. The Scots face their Six Nations rivals at the Hive Stadium in Edinburgh in the first of 2 warm-up matches before they defend their WXV2 title in South Africa later in the month.
To be honest, I think we've done a lot of the gelling already. You know, when you have to put in those hard yards alongside your teammates in those pre-season sessions, it really brings you together. So yeah, looking forward to seeing some of those combinations come out on the pitch and hopefully work some magic.
Edinburgh rugby winger Ross McCann says it's been a roller coaster year after missing out on his dream of playing at the Paris Olympics. McCann was denied a place at the Games when Great Britain's Rugby Sevens team failed to qualify, but he bounced back, securing a 2-year deal to play for Edinburgh and earning his first full Scotland cap against Canada.
Achieving my dream of going to play for Scotland, whilst also not achieving that dream of going to Paris as well, was two contrasting emotions, but that ultimate high of playing for Scotland and seeing the pride on the people around me, and you know, it's like people always say how proud people are of you, and they were, and yeah, I loved it. It was highs and lows, but I did enjoy it.
Finally, Scotland's Ben Sanderland says it was an amazing feeling to break the 1500 metres world record on the way to winning gold at the Paralympics. The 21-year-old beat the previous record by 1/10 of a second, crossing the line in 3 minutes and 45.5 seconds to claim the gold medal in Paris. And that's all your sport this evening. You can read more on today's top stories on the STV Sport website.
STV Sport, sponsored by the Casha Smith Autumn Sale.
Summer has finally arrived in the West. Sean is here to tell us when it'll be over.
A spell of wows will gradually settle into a scattering of traditional tapas. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Good evening. What a cracker of a day it's been out there today, particularly across Argyll and Bute. The Highlands, temperatures 25 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. A little bit of a slow start to the day around the Gryfe Valley and around the M80 and the M8 corridor as well, with that misty low cloud, but at least it has been slowly burning its way back towards the east through the day. Tonight, though, it stretches its way back westwards, so a bit of a slow start again tomorrow around the likes of Port Glasgow, Paisley, Johnston, Glasgow and around Motherwell, Airdrie. But hopefully the cloud here slowly thinning and breaking, same around Cumbernauld as well. So we've got that low cloud, but it burns away back towards the east. And for most of us, it's another fab day to come. Blue skies and those temperatures again into the low 20s to the mid 20s in some spots. But yes, I think probably around the likes of Alnwick and Carden, Falkirk, we've got that misty low cloud, but hopefully we will start to see a wee bit of sunshine breaking through during the afternoon. But certainly the best of the weather once again today in Mull. My goodness, 24 degrees with blue skies. It's the same again tomorrow. So an absolute cracker of a day, probably one of the best summer days we've had. And here we are in meteorological autumn. So warm, sunny tomorrow for most of us after that slow start, as I say, in central parts with that low cloud. But most of that burning away. Cloudier skies for all of us on Sunday, but still warm temperatures into low 20s. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Some of the most prolific musicians from the UK's Roma community are gathering in Glasgow for a two-day celebration of their culture and heritage.
Yes, the Glasgow Roma Festival kicks off at Drygate Brewery tonight in an attempt to foster greater understanding of the community, as Vidushi Tamari reports.
The beating heart of the UK's Romani community, right here in Glasgow. They've travelled from across the country for a cultural extravaganza, tackling discrimination with a smile.
What are you most excited about?
I don't really know because I'm excited for everything.
It's very important for me. It's my culture and I just really like to show people.
There's very little awareness about who we are. There's a lot of misinformation about who the Gypsy people are out there. This festival is a marvelous opportunity to showcase the treasures of our culture.
Zor is one of Scotland's most popular Roma bands and the headline act at tonight's show, as well as an opportunity to get involved in the cultural arts. It offers mental health support for younger members of the community.
1 in 10 of all Romani deaths across Britain are from suicide, which is a shocking and horrific statistic. The community has its own resources for finding its way out of that. There is strength in coming together and there is strength in music and in dance. You cannot be unhappy and do what they're doing in there.
Bridging the gap between Roma communities and the people of Glasgow is an integral aspect of the festival.
I believe this is quite a unique opportunity that we try to create here for Roma culture to be recognized, celebrated and be accessible and available for everyone.
They're urging Glaswegians to come along and experience it for themselves. Vidushi Tavari, STV News.
Well, that's almost it from me tonight, but Emma, you'll be back in half an hour with Laura Boyd for What's on Scotland.
Yes, I sure am. And John, can you believe I've been working with an even bigger star than you? I've been at the premiere of The Perfect Couple this week. It's a new TV drama that everyone's talking about, featuring a star-studded cast with Nicole Kidman, Liev Schreiber and Eve Hewson among the big names appearing in the Netflix series. Everyone is a suspect when a body is discovered just hours before a lavish wedding.
I have Scottish blood.
Oh, well,
yeah,
the very best of us do.
Thank you.
Congratulations on a brilliant series. Tell us quickly, Nicole, what makes a perfect couple?
There is no perfect. That's the truth, right? I think when you're aiming to be perfect, that's when you get in trouble. But as you see the curtain drawn back, you're like, oh my God. So hopefully people, find it entertaining and exciting and kind of addictive.
Well, there's much more from my chat with Nicole in What's on Scotland and much more at 7 tonight here on STV.
Well, that's it from all of us. Enjoy the sunshine if you're getting it.
Bye-bye.
Good night.